Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brent, Fantasy Football Grinder. Hey, I wanted to do a video today, guys, and I've been trying to catch up to everything. Sorry, it's been way behind my schedule. Just been dealing with some things today. But anyways, I wanted to do a video today because we had a lot of stuff go down in free agency this year, and it's some crazy stuff with a lot of quarterbacks, which is a big deal for fantasy football because that's your major position. Anything else, you could deal with wide receivers you don't know, running backs you don't always know the system. But when it comes to a quarterback, that is their set style. When you're dealing with quarterbacks, that's their set style. And quarterbacks are not going to change overnight, especially guys that got moved around this year. The Brady's of the world, Rivers, Cam, all these guys, they got moved around. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to change their entire game up because they're on a new team. So what a lot of guys need to understand, though, is this brings up a lot of different categories that we need to talk about, because when you're discussing this, you're breaking this down. What happens now with the Patriots? What happens with, what does Belichick do with Cam? These are the things that we're going to go over. Go over some major things that went down in free agency so far this year, and we'll go over some minor things, and then all these things too. They all connect, as the season moves along. And some of this stuff is things that we'll just have to constantly keep an update on. Some things are going to change, and some things are, some things are going to change so drastically that if one minute the Patriots are no longer a fantasy football, really they're not really a fantasy football target. Is that I really didn't trust Stidham. I've pretty much left them void from anything to do with fantasy this year. But now that you throw Cam in the mix, if he's healthy, and that's going to be the major question. When is Cam healthy? That's going to be the question. But let's go ahead and discuss these guys. Let's break down your three key quarterback moves. There's three key quarterback moves that I pretty much discussed most of it, but we didn't go into detail, so let's do that. So, first off, you had Brady go to the Buccaneers. We all know this. But what's interesting about this is that Gronk comes out of retirement. And for me, it reminds me a lot of Witten last year with the Dallas Cowboys coming out of retirement. And the thing is, Witten was much older, so I'm not going to say Gronkowski's not going to be an impact player. He could be. But I would favor Mike Evans with Tom Brady. I would favor that, because Brady will have that guy that he can throw the ball to with those sure hands. And Mike Evans is pretty universal. So as far as I go, I love Godwin. I loved Godwin last year when I could get him in the 6th and 7th round. But when you can't get him that late anymore and you're getting Godwin in the 2nd, 3rd round, I don't trust Godwin, guys. And I'm not going to suggest anybody go for Godwin that early. If you disagree, you definitely comment. We'll definitely have a conversation about it. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not touching Godwin in the 2nd and 3rd round. Mike Evans he's too much of a talent. He's always finishing in the top 5. It's almost every year he's a top 5 finisher at wide receiver. Unless he's hurt, he's a top 5 guy. And even when he does get hurt, he's still a top 5 guy. So I don't trust that. But what I do trust now, a really, really strange window with the Buccaneers that I really, I guess if people know my past, they'll understand this. But, Rojo's a guy that some people liked, some people didn't like. But I wonder if Rojo if Rojo's officially going to be a factor now. You look at Rojo and you think this is a guy that could potentially be a James White-esque player. And that's what I think of when I see Rojo and Brady together. And do I think Rojo is going to put up, 20 points a week? Probably not. But Rojo's going to fall to you at the last round of the draft. If he's your RB5, you don't have anything to lose out of him. So keep an eye on Rojo and where he's falling in your drafts. If you see Rojo down there, and it's, you're on round 13, why not go ahead and grab him? You grab him. It's not very much. It's low risk, high reward. Because if Brady makes Rojo to hit his potential just for one season, you have such a massive steal that there's no comparison to that. So that is a major factor and a major move. Secondly, we're going to talk about Philip Rivers. That's a name I mentioned a few minutes ago. That's a guy that I'm really interested in because where Rivers has went is where Luck has been all this time, and could, I don't, we have, it's hard for us to go off of Luck. It's hard to go off of his background because if you know his history, it's play for 10 games, get hurt, and you're half a season. It's half a season we don't see Luck. So that's the history there, and it's kind of scary to go with that. But when you get Rivers over here, and if Rivers is healthy, which he's been pretty reasonably healthy his entire career, you get him healthy, and he's got T.Y. Hilton, he's got Paris Campbell, he's got plenty of targets. I think they've got a few other little guys that are really, really good that are going to be great, and we'll discuss them as we move along into shows. We'll talk about wide receivers and things on that team. There's some really interesting targets there for him, but you got him, and then you throw in Jonathan Taylor. And what's interesting to me with Jonathan Taylor is, this is a 2,000 rushing yards a year guy, 4 years straight in college. And this is the thing, whenever you come to a guy like Jonathan Taylor, when you start talking about a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who did something like that, not only did he do that, but he also did that and reasonably stayed healthy for 4 years in college. I mean, you don't know who your offensive line is going to be in college. Yeah, they could be great, and then the next week they could be terrible. So we don't know how great their offensive line has been. It was pretty good in Wisconsin, but it wasn't so great, that it was just the best offensive line in college football, and he still managed to put up these points. And so when we look at Jonathan Taylor and you match him with Philip Rivers, and I have a funny feeling that you're going to get a healthy, more well-rounded Melvin Gordon there. So that's going to be a guy that I suggest going and grabbing in the third round. I didn't grab a running back, a rookie running back in the third round in a while, but one that I would highly suggest is Jonathan Taylor. And that's just being honest. I'm looking at the other guys. I like Edwards-Helaire. Look, I'm a guy from Louisiana. I would love to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire put up a ton of points and be an LSU grad, It would be great. But in reality, I know I've watched Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I know that he has the potential to do that. But I don't put it. It's not been you're not going to see those back-to-back seasons from Edwards-Helaire. You have seen it from Jonathan Taylor. Do you see that from Edwards-Helaire? I don't think you do. As much as I would like for you to, I don't believe you will. They're great. There's nothing wrong with these guys. They're good players. There's nothing wrong with them, but I don't know, man. I don't trust it. But whenever it comes to Taylor, I really do honestly feel he could end up being a top 5 to top 10 running back, hands down. Maybe better than that. By the end of the season, we may be talking bigger than that. He might be a top 3 guy. We don't know. You have a massive offensive line with the Colts, and that's another thing that Rivers has never had. Rivers has never had that really great offensive line. He's had good offensive lines, but to have a great offensive line, I haven't seen that yet from Rivers whenever he was with the Chargers. We've seen some good offensive lines there, and we've seen a lot of the issues with their offensive line. It was all down to the fact that they were more or less injury prone than anything else. They had guys like Okong who just got traded. They were, good players, but they're injury prone. So we don't know how great they could have been. You're gonna get some that'll say they were the best ever. You're gonna get some that will say they're not that great. I think Rivers did good for what he had. And I think whenever he goes to the Colts, he'll have a team that you've seen Jacoby Brissett show out with. Jacoby Brissett showed out with this exact same team. If Brissett can do that, I do trust Rivers. And Rivers is a guy, this is just right along with Brady, that I would suggest guys going in the 7th and 8th round, grab him as your RB1 or your RB2, your QB1, your QB2, grab them there and hold on to them, because these are guys that you never know their potential with the new teams that they're on. We know what their potential was, when they were younger and things like that. but we don't know the potential with the teams that they're on. But if they're if you go and grab yourself a Rodgers, that's 7th round, maybe 8th round, you grab a Rodgers or a Matt Ryan, you know that they're going to put up points. And then you back yourself with a Brady or a Rivers. Maybe Rivers is way later. I mean, I wouldn't touch Rivers in the 8th. Brady, I would, but not Rivers. But if you grabbed yourself a Rivers later on, I mean, you could have yourself a potential stud quarterback. He could have the biggest season of his career, and it's not unlikely with the team that he's on. I mean, you look at their team, you start looking at their roster, and they're built to succeed offensively. And now they've added pieces to that defense, and the Colts defense special teams is going to be one to watch with anybody that has a DST league. You're going to have to watch for that too. So that's very important to know. I didn't want to go on a big Colts tirade for everybody, but I do want to put focus on that we need to be watching guys like Rivers for the fact that they have more than just Rivers. They have T.Y. Hilton there. They have Jonathan Taylor. They have a ton of targets, man. They have a ton of weapons there. And one guy that I wish was still there that's not there now is Deion Kane. That's a guy I wish would have stayed, but it is what it is. He's gone. It is what it is. But another guy that, a lot of people fail to really add into the mix is that Marlon Mack is still there. And I get that he's, trust me, I know there's going to be people that tell me, hey, why would you go Jonathan Taylor when you got Mack there? Here's the thing, man. Marlon Mack has not proven to be 100% healthy every year. He's proven to be an injury-prone player, and I loved Marlon Mack. I picked Marlon Mack in almost every league up until this season. Well, the past season. This past season, Marlon Mack really scared me because I dealt with some injuries from him, and I said, man, I'm gonna take a step back from the Marlon Mack show, and it turned out to be the right decision. So I would say, guys, get yourself a Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd, maybe 4th round, depending on where you're getting, depending on where you're drafting. Well, I have my draft kit available. I'll let everybody know. That's pretty easy to figure that out. But I'll let you guys, anybody that doesn't know information on that, get with me. I'll let you know. But draft kit's free, guys. I don't have any reason to make people pay for a draft kit. I don't understand why. It's just words on a freaking paper. So, anyways, guys. So let's talk about one other move at quarterback, which is the most recent one, which was Cam Newton. And let's talk about that in New England. With Cam Newton in New England, you're talking about a whole new system for Cam. But do I think Belichick could get Cam Newton into the door and turn Cam Newton into a stud quarterback? I do. I honestly do. I don't see why he wouldn't. Why would one of the best coaches in the game not be able to make Cam Newton a stud? That makes no sense. But also we have to remember, Phil Jackson was with the Lakers for years. He didn't always have championship teams. It just happens. But the thing is, Cam is on a team where you have N'Keal Harry. You have, I'd have to look back up just to make sure, but I believe Sanu is still there. You have a few of these guys like that. You have the James Whites of the world. These guys can make or break Cam Newton. Same goes for Cam Newton with these guys. Do I think that Stidham is the guy? I don't. I honestly don't. I don't think the Patriots ever planned on keeping Stidham. I think the Patriots played it off just like they normally do every year. The Patriots will play everybody, and they'll make you think that they're going left, and the whole time they've been taking a right turn. You just never seen it. That's the Patriots. That's how it happens. That's what they do. So what I want you guys to understand, though, is that when you're talking Cam Newton, you're not going to talk the same type of game as Brady. When you're talking Cam Newton, you're going to talk a whole lot of run game from the quarterback. Maybe they try to change that up. That would be beautiful. If Belichick could get Cam Newton to stay in the pocket more, to where he could get him some throwing lanes through guys like N'Keal Harry that can catch those 50-50 balls. That's what would be successful for Cam. Now, do they do that? I don't know. I would hope so. There's never a guarantee. Do I think Cam Newton's worth a draft pick, though? Sure. Cam Newton is worth a draft pick in the later rounds after round 10. Do you need a second quarterback? Is it a two-quarterback league? Those are things to ask yourself. If you're in a two-quarterback league, you better get Cam. You might as well. If you're in a league that starts two quarterbacks, why not? Why not get him as your third quarterback? Why not go grab him and Rivers at 10 and 11? Why not? Just go grab the guys, hold on to them, and you've got two studs sitting there. You never know what can happen there. We don't know the potential, but we do know what Belichick got out of Brady, and Brady's one of the best to ever do it. So now we're going to really know whether it's Brady or it's Belichick. That's the real question. Was it Brady or was it Belichick? Those are the things that we're going to need to know. And so I just want to let you guys know that's where I'm standing with that one. I'm not, I would like to be excited for Cam, but then there's a part of me that's like, man, I wonder if these guys are just still stuck on Stidham. I don't like that. I don't like that Stidham's there. I kind of wish that competition wasn't there. Do I believe that Cam will beat him out? Sure, I do. But I also believe that Stidham's still there. I mean, we still are going to have this question. We're going to have this debate all year long. If Cam is healthy, and we will follow this along, and I'll let you guys know plenty of updates. I will be watching Cam Newton very closely over the next 2 to 4 weeks. If Cam Newton's healthy, man, you might as well. You might as well be watching for him. Watch for his ADP to rise. I mean, if it rises past round 10, we're not touching him. You can't touch Cam Newton outside of your QB2 or round 10. You cannot touch Cam Newton. But inside of there, sure, I'm touching him. Yeah, you're right. I'm going to take in Kill Harry. I'm going to take a lot of these guys. These guys are worth my picks now with Cam Newton there and his ability to throw the ball, his ability to throw the 50-50 ball. All of these things matter to me because that's a stud quarterback there, And that's one guy that I want people to be focused on, keep an eye for him, because you don't know what he's going to do next, There's a million things he could do. There's a million things that they could do with Cam, and I'm very excited to see how that plays out. That's a very interesting situation, okay? So let's get on to players that are not quarterbacks that I kind of want you guys to be watching for. These are guys that I'm going to talk a lot about in the next few weeks. These are guys that I'm going to be bringing up a whole lot of facts on. We'll be talking I'm sure there's going to be a ton of debate on these guys. It won't just be me, but there's going to be probably everybody in the country will be debating these guys when it's all said and done, because these guys were worth debating. So what happened with Austin Hooper from the Falcons, the Falcons ended up trading for Hayden Hurst, letting Austin Hooper walk. This was simply it's a salary cap deal, guys. I mean, this is just how this goes. Do I think that Austin Hooper's worth money? I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's worth the right price to the right person. But, the Falcons got to take what they can take and keep their defense together. That's what this was about. But they get Hayden Hurst. And which is interesting to me is that Hayden Hurst is a guy that could easily become a top 3 tight end this year. He was already that talent, and then out of nowhere, we get Mark Andrews. Nobody expected Mark Andrews. No one. Nobody expected Mark Andrews to come out of there like he did. So here we are. Everybody said Hayden Hurst last year as well. So here we are. Hayden Hurst is over here in Atlanta, taking over where Hooper was. He was showing out last year on this team. Do I think Hayden Hurst is worth being my tight end 1? I'm sure he is. And I'm about 99% sure I would take him as my tight end 1 right around round 7, depending on the league. Guys, you got to when you follow advice, you always got to listen to depending on the league. That means a whole lot because, guys, if you're talking about, a PPR league versus a standard league, I'm sure Hayden Hurst really doesn't matter in a standard league. It really doesn't. But Hayden Hurst in a PPR league could be a big deal. If he becomes Matt Ryan's check down guy, well, every time he catches the ball, it's a point. So, guys, you got to keep that in mind. Know your leagues. Know what you're reading when you're reading things when it comes to draft kits, when it comes to advice. Know what's coming your way, because a lot of times people get hung up in that, and it can really throw you off if you're not paying attention. I want everybody that's following me to win. I want everybody to win. Everybody should be able to win this year. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to win at fantasy football from following this show, because we're gonna do our. I mean, if we're gonna do our best. Put it that way. There's no way we're gonna just gonna give up. But guys, what you have to focus on is, where do you get these guys and win. Don't go grab Hayden Hurst in the 4th round and say, well, you said he was a tight end 1. I can't help that. Don't do that. Go grab him around round 7 in most leagues. If you're in a league where guys are grabbing, sure, this is not going to happen to 99% of people. But if you're in a league and guys are just slamming out tight ends and you have to have one, for one, play fantasy football like chess. Don't play fantasy football like checkers. Always play fantasy football like chess. If somebody's going to go grab 2 quarterbacks in the first 5 rounds, let them grab them, and you go grab 2 or 3 running backs. And then what happens is, in the end, it all comes out in the wash, and you end up with a better team. Don't let guys trick you. Don't get nervous because a certain position is running low. These guys got to still go get what they got to get. I'm gonna tell people to grab a whole lot of running backs. But be honest with you, if you don't grab your 3 running backs early, you're screwed. That's just how it is. You could do away with 1 wide receiver in the first 4 rounds, but you can't anywhere else. But let's get back on the topic with Hayden Hurst. And what I wanted to say lastly with Hayden Hurst is that you have to remember, Matt Ryan is a guy that is on the last few years of his contract, maybe the last few years of his career. And I'm pretty sure Matt Ryan is not going to be in the mood to just come in and half-tail everything, go home. Matt Ryan's going to want to win. He's going to target Hayden Hurst. And Hayden Hurst is going to be a solid tight end 1 if you get him in the right round. So just keep that in mind, that is the guy that I would like for you guys to go grab if you can. Let's talk about one other tight end situation that just broke down. This is going to involve 2, and that was the Jaguars trading their defensive end, I think his name is Ngakoue, for David Njoku. They got David Njoku, and the Browns had signed Austin Hooper. So the Jaguars have Njoku, the Browns have Austin Hooper now. That's who we were just talking about. I don't really care about the Browns. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I like the Browns I don't hate the Browns as far as a team, but I don't like the fact that they just keep loading up at offense, because you don't know who's who. If I knew who was who on their offense, that would be one thing, but you can't tell me who's who on their offense. I couldn't even tell you who's starting, it's impossible. I mean, who do we know? Austin Hooper's there, but they also drafted a ton of tight ends. So what are you going to do? I mean, you can't live off of that. They picked up a few guys that were undrafted, but you can't win off of that. Now, however, when you throw Njoku into the mix where I think he belongs, which is with the Jaguars, and he's a guy that's going to block and be able to take a few passes, he's an interesting guy as your backup tight end. Not as an early pick, not even as a mid to late pick. Just a late round pick. If you need a tight end to back up your tight end in the last round, grab yourself, Njoku, and see what happens, If you miss on tight ends and you just feel more comfortable grabbing your running backs, I have no problems with that, because to be honest with you guys, if you don't get those top 5 tight ends, if you don't hit on a top 5 tight end, and really a top 3, you're not going to get a massive boost in points from tight end. So if you miss, take your risk, guys. Waiver wire it up. Every week trade out tight ends. Trade out tight ends depending on who they, who's going to score the most points based off defense. I don't care what you do with tight ends, because at the end of the day, the tight ends are almost as nonchalant as the kicker and the DST outside of those top couple of guys that you get every year. But the thing is, they do You'll have an interval of like 3 guys every year. It'll be number 4 through number 6. Your first 3, typically, like this year, you get Kelsey, Kittle, Ertz. That's your top 3. But then the next 3, like, they cycle. They come in cycles, and you don't really know where they're going to hit. It'll be guys that people didn't even draft, and all of a sudden they just, they take off out of nowhere. It's really tough with tight ends. We'll keep focus on it. If anybody has any suggestions, sure, shoot it down there in the comments. Talk about it. But as far as I go with tight ends, it's take your time. Grab yourself a guy like Njoku late. Who knows what he does? Nobody really knows. And lastly, guys, let's talk about two running backs that are interesting. Let's talk about one other guy. I want to bring this one guy up. He's one of my favorite guys to talk about every year. He's got the most drama behind him every year as far as fantasy is concerned, because he's always in competition to be a wide receiver that everybody wants, but nobody knows what he's going to bring to the table. Robbie freaking Anderson. Okay. So what do we do with Robbie Anderson this year? This is what's going to be interesting, guys, and it's something that I really wanted to talk about because I really like dealing with Robbie Anderson for some reason. I don't know. It's a pretty cool situation. He's a pretty cool guy, but the deal is he's with the Panthers now. And we know that Bridgewater's there with the Panthers. That was one move that got made with quarterbacks. It wasn't massive headlines, not major news. But Robbie Anderson is big news for Bridgewater because I don't know that I trust any other receiver there. And, this is a guy that could come in and be that Michael Thomas to Bridgewater. We've seen what Bridgewater can do with a Michael Thomas. Now, is Robbie Anderson Michael Thomas? Surely not. No, he's had time to prove that. He's never been Michael Thomas. But he does provide an interesting situation at wide receiver every year. Could he come in and stay healthy? I believe so. And I believe that they will put together a game plan, and Robbie Anderson will be a massive producer in that game plan. So, guys, if you need a wide receiver later in drafts and you want to take a risk on a guy who could be your wide receiver too, definitely go ahead, grab yourself Robbie Anderson. Be happy with him sitting there on your bench. Who cares? If he doesn't do anything, it's okay. I mean, it could be worse. You could have somebody much worse than that you paid a lot higher for. But if you're going to get Robbie Anderson later on in drafts, I would definitely take him. Matt Rule is definitely more of a defensive coach, which is okay. But I think that they've made the right moves with our offensive coordinators and stuff. That's where they're going to win, and that's where I'd like to see what Robbie Anderson can bring to the table. So, guys, please definitely take a look at that. Make sure that you don't pass up on them. Those are guys that I really like this year. So, watch out for Robbie Anderson. Every year it's Robbie Anderson something, but I do believe in him this year. I think he's a good guy. And Brandon Cooks with the Texans. Brandon Cooks going over to the Texans was a big deal for a team that just lost Nuke. When you lose Nuke, and really they didn't lose him, they just decided they would trade him for David Johnson. Don't know why. But, that's what they decided to do. And so this is a big deal because it takes a little pressure off of Will Fuller. You're not going to have Randall Cobb go off, you know that. But you give yourself an out. And I think Brandon Cooks is a guy that's a potential guy at the end of the draft. Once again, a lot of these guys we're talking about, these are not guys that I'm saying go and grab them first round. Nuke going to the Cardinals, that's massive. Take him to the bank in the second, third round. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with it. If you want to grab Nuke, and I do believe that Kyler with Nuke is a great option. I don't believe that Brandon Cooks is going to be a massive guy, but I do believe Kyler with Nuke will be a great option. So that's another guy to keep in mind. Which brings us to the very last 2 guys that I'm going to talk about today. And I'm sure we're going to have more to talk about, guys. This is a breakdown for today, but this won't be the breakdown forever. We're going to have a ton of these guys to talk about. the last two guys to talk about, David Johnson and Todd Gurley. Two guys that I love to hate them, and I hate to love them, because with these two guys, I mean, you don't know what you're going to get, 2016, I didn't think I could trust David Johnson. All of a sudden, here he is, He puts up good numbers. Here we are again, We don't know what we're going to get from David Johnson. But what we do know is that Carlos Hyde put up really great numbers on this team. So, do I think we should be targeting David Johnson? I do, at the right round, third round or later. If you get David Johnson, in the late third, if you're one of those later picks and you could get him in the late third, early fourth, I mean, it's highly doubtful early fourth, but late third, you need to grab him. Yeah, definitely. If I had to pick right now between David Johnson and Todd Gurley, and I had myself say Josh Jacobs as my RB1, maybe a Tyreek Hill or whoever, my wide receiver ones, I would go Gurley. And I know that sounds crazy, but at the end of the day, man, all that hindered Gurley ever has been the players around him, because he's been on a team that has been always pass first, and B, his health. But we seen last year, allegedly, he's not able to do this, not able to do that. He plays every single game, almost every play he's on the field, and they don't give him the ball. That makes absolutely no sense. Why would that makes no sense whatsoever. Why would you not have Gurley run the ball more often when Goff is your quarterback? I don't understand that. If Goff was, some guy that, could throw for 5,000 yards a season every year, yeah, sure, yeah. But not this. This is not a guy that's going to throw that many yards. You got to let Gurley play. So I'm going to tell you guys, I like David Johnson. He's a really cool guy. He's a really good running back. But, guys, I mean, save yourself the heartache of dealing with David Johnson. Grab yourself a Gurley. You know he's going to play. You know he wants to win. He's another guy. He's in Atlanta. They're going to want to win, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. Those are guys that are in their last, few years of their career. They're ready to win now. They don't have a choice. Let's win now or go home and never be a champion. I mean, these guys don't have a choice. Matt Ryan, Gurley, these guys, it's win now or don't win at all. So, these guys, they're all out on the line this year for these guys. So, guys, I just wanted to let you guys know this is, this is going to be my first show here for Free Agency Breakdowns. And this will not be this will be one of my shows here. We're going to do it like this sometimes. But guys, we're going to have a ton of more information dropping. I had a kind of a slow start, rough start getting everything going, but everything's coming together now. And tomorrow night at I will post times and everything on my Instagram, but tomorrow night on West Coast Cowboys Facebook page, we will be live. Me and Coach Higgins. He's going to be a co-host with me on West Coast Cowboys Facebook page, and we're gonna do a show tomorrow night. So anybody that has questions, come jump in the group, man. You don't have to be a Cowboys fan to jump in the group. Nobody's gonna be mad at you if you're not a Cowboys fan. Just jump in, let them know that I told you to come on. But yeah, I'll see y'all guys there, and then we'll drop some more videos this week. And if anybody has any comments, leave them. Guys, let's see what we can do. This is not going to be a page where I just come on and just jump everybody and tell you all what my opinion and it's my way or nobody's way. Guys, this is everybody's way. We're all going to have an opinion here. Everybody's going to say what they want to say. Respect the next man's opinion. That's all I say. That's all I ask. Respect the next man's opinion. Don't go jump down each other's throat. It's fantasy football, guys. It's not World War III. Take it serious. Don't take it to heart. Take anything personal. But hey, guys, thank you for coming and listening. And jump on next time. And we'll be live tomorrow night. Thank you, guys.